The air in Father's study hung heavy with the scent of aged leather and stale cigar smoke, a reminder of the empire he'd built on my mother's broken dreams. I stood there, my fingers trembling slightly as I reclaimed her relics from the locked drawer he'd hoarded like a guilty secret. A seemingly ordinary sketchbook and easel, dusted with the faint patina of time, innocuous to anyone else but sacred to me. But inside the sketchbook were portraits of me from nearly every month before I turned 6 delicate pencil strokes, capturing my chubby cheeks, my wide-eyed curiosity, my first wobbly steps. My mother had drawn them even as she lay bedridden with illness, her hands shaking from pain and fever, yet her love steady as a heartbeat. Each page was a whisper of what we'd lost, a testament to the quiet agony she'd endured. They brimmed with a mother's love for her daughter, fierce and unyielding, the kind that could mend the fractures in a child's world even as her own shattered. When Fiona wormed her way into our home like a serpent in silk, slithering through the cracks of our fractured family, I learned the brutal truth. My mother's depression and eventual suicide stemmed from Father's sordid affair. And Fiona, that wide-eyed interloper with her practiced innocence, was only 2 years younger than me. Close enough in age to be a cruel joke, a living scar on our legacy. Back then, the rage had surged through me like wildfire, hot and consuming. I nearly whipped Fiona to death on the spot, the leather cracking against her arm with a sound like thunder, her screams echoing off the marble floors as blood welled in thin lines. But Father, ever the manipulator, had used my mother's final relics as leverage, dangling them like a noose around my neck. "Reveal a word of this," he'd hissed, his breath sour with whiskey, "and you'll never see them again," forbidding me from exposing Fiona's origins, from voicing the betrayal that had stolen my mother from me. Now, as I prepared to marry abroad into a world of shadows and alliances, it was time to cash in on that infernal deal. The scales would finally tip, and I'd walk away with more than relics. I'd claim justice. After retrieving the sketchbook, clutching it to my chest like a shield, I visited my uncle's place, where the air was cleaner, filled with the faint herbal tang of his study and the reassuring weight of his hand on my shoulder. He listened without interruption, his eyes darkening with the same fury I'd inherited, promising retribution in quiet, steel-edged words. Then, fortified, I headed straight to the board meeting, the polished oak table a battlefield where I'd plant the seeds of downfall. I'd endured Fiona's bullshit for so many years like a coward, biting back barbs and swallowing humiliations that festered like open wounds before leaving for my far-off marriage, a union forged in desperation and strategy. I had to give that father-daughter duo a hell of a parting gift, one that would unravel their carefully woven lies thread by thread. But nothing could leak before I left the country. It had to hit them like a surprise bomb, detonating in the heart of their smug complacency, leaving nothing but ashes and regret. Back home, the grand foyer felt colder than ever, the chandelier's crystals mocking me with their fractured light. I found my room stripped bare, violated in its emptiness. My things dumped in the living room like trash discarded by an indifferent hand. Clothes rumpled in heaps, books splayed open like gutted fish, personal trinkets scattered like forgotten bones, especially the porcelain dolls Sebastian had given me, 37 of them, each one a labor of his hands, painted with meticulous care to match my whims. Now, all smashed into jagged shards scattered across the floor, like worthless garbage no one wanted. The delicate faces cracked into eternal grimaces, white dust mingling with the grit underfoot. Seeing me return, frozen in the doorway, Fiona trembled in fake apology, her lower lip quivering just so, but a flash of triumph gleamed in her eyes like a predator's glint, sharp and unrepentant. "Sorry, sis," she whimpered, voice pitched high with feigned remorse. "Dad said, your room gets the best sunlight for recovery, so he had it cleared out. It is all for your own good, really. Those dolls. The maids accidentally broke them while moving the table, just clumsy, you know. I'll pay you back. Whatever it costs, down to the last cent. Dad just gave me this black card." Her fingers fluttered, flashing the black card casually, the one marking her as the Jiang family heiress, its glossy surface catching the light like a taunt, a symbol of the throne she'd stolen. I stepped forward without a word, my pulse, a steady drum in my ears, the air thickening with unspoken fury. Sebastian, though, reacted like I was the enemy at the gates, lunging to block her with his broad frame. His cologne, a crisp, familiar cedar, clashing with the metallic tang of my rising anger. "Lana, it is just a few dolls," he said, voice laced with that patronizing calm he reserved for fragile patients. "You really gonna make a fuss over this? Let it go, it is not worth the drama." But those were all handmade by Sebastian himself, late nights in his workshop where the kiln's glow had danced across his focused features, his fingers deft and sure as he shaped clay into companions for my lonely evenings. Back then, he'd promised that as long as I liked them, he'd make them for me forever. His voice soft against my ear in the dim light of our shared secrets, his breath warm with the weight of young love's vows. Too bad. His promises had the shelf life of cheap porcelain, brittle, easily overlooked, destined to crack under the slightest pressure. Shattered to pieces the moment Fiona pulled some petty trick, her whispers and wide eyes weaving doubts into the fragile lattice of our bond. In the end, it was my fault for taking a man's sweet words at face value, for building castles on sand, believing in the permanence of whispers exchanged under starlit skies. Seeing the provocation in Fiona's eyes, that sly curl of her lips barely masked, I suddenly found the whole scene utterly pointless. A scripted farce in a theater of fools, draining the last drops of energy from my weary soul. Pushing past Sebastian, his shoulder solid but yielding under my palm, I hugged my luggage tighter, the leather handle biting into my skin, and moved into a guest room down the hall. Face blank as stone, emotions locked behind a wall of ice. Sebastian frowned at my retreating back, his gaze lingering far too long, a shadow of confusion flickering in those hazel eyes I'd once drowned in. Now, just a distant echo. The next morning, a knock echoed at my door, soft but insistent, pulling me from a restless sleep haunted by fragmented memories. Opening it, I saw 37 brand new porcelain dolls lined up on the floor in neat rows, their painted smiles frozen in eternal youth, tiny dresses fluttering like flags of truce. They were clearly rushed overnight. The clay bodies hadn't fully dried, still faintly tacky to the touch, bearing the faint scent of fresh earth and glaze. Only Sebastian could pull something this ridiculous, this desperate bid for absolution, as if new trinkets could mend the fractures in my heart. With a cold scoff escaping my lips, sharp as shattered glass, I found the gesture laughable, a child's bandage on a gaping wound, and slammed the door shut, out of sight, out of mind, the thud reverberating like a final punctuation. But half an hour later, the silence gnawed at me, curiosity a persistent itch. I cracked the door open again, the hallway light spilling in like an unwelcome intruder. Picked them up, one by one, their weight surprisingly heavy in my arms, a mosaic of his lingering affection. Brought them inside, arranging them on the windowsill where sunlight could gild their edges, a reluctant concession to the ghost of what we were. In the 4 days before my departure, aside from wrangling a dowry from that trash dad, haggling over shares and settlements in his smoke-filled office, his eyes darting like a cornered rat, I poured most of my energy into physical training and marksmanship. The recoil of the pistol, a satisfying jolt against my palm, sweat stinging my eyes as I honed my body into a weapon, muscles aching with purpose under the relentless sun. After a riding lesson, the wind still whipping my hair with the earthy musk of stables and leather, I came home to find Gordon throwing Fiona a lavish birthday bash, the mansion alive with laughter and clinking glasses, fairy lights strung like deceptive stars. By the time I arrived, slipping through the side entrance like a shadow, Fiona descended from Famey Fae room, Famey Fae sanctuary now profaned, in a princess gown encrusted with rhinestones that caught the light like shards of ice, her elegant poise a calculated sway earning thunderous applause from the assembled elite, their murmurs a chorus of envy and approval. A few of her sycophant friends, clustered like vultures in designer silks, spotted me and sneered with fake sympathy, their painted lips curling in unison. "Little Fiona's off to Italy for the alliance marriage in a few days," one drawled, voice dripping honeyed venom. "Some big sisters really have no heart, skipping their little sis's birthday party like it is nothing." "Of course not," another chimed, eyes narrowing to slits. "She is just a coward forcing her sister to marry far away out of fear, clinging to her cushy life. A rotten bitch like that has no family ties in her cold, selfish heart." Looks like while I was out, reins digging into my palms as the horse thundered across the field. Fiona had run to them again, playing the victim with tear, streaked cheeks and whispered tales, bad-mouthing me until I was the villain in their gilded narrative. I had no interest in those idiots and their performative outrage, their perfume cloying in the air like decay, and turned to head upstairs, the banister cool under my fingers. But they wouldn't let it go, feeding on the drama like sharks to chum. With a glance at Fiona, seeking her nod of permission, they blocked my path on purpose, skirts rustling like whispers of conspiracy. "Hiding already?" the ringleader taunted, arms crossed. "If you weren't guilty as sin, why dodge facing little Fiona head? Own, heartless wretch," her echo hissed, leaning in close enough for me to smell her champagne breath. "If Mrs. Zhang saw how domineering and vicious you are, clawing at your own blood like a beast, she'd claw her way out of the grave in rage just to slap some sense into you." The words barely left her mouth, venomous and sharp, before I cracked my riding crop across her. Once twice, the leather singing through the air with a vicious snap, sending the gossiping socialite sprawling into the wine table, her body crumpling like a discarded puppet. Crash. Glasses shattered everywhere, crimson rivulets of spilled Merlot pooling like blood on the Persian rug, the air filling with the sharp bite of fermented grapes and shattered crystal. Shards bit deep into the woman's skin, embedding like accusations. She wailed in agony, a high keening sound that cut through the murmurs, too pained to spit another insult, her hands scrabbling futilely at the mess. I gripped the crop tighter, the leather warm from my palm, smirking coldly as the adrenaline sang in my veins. Now Fedat is Fey domineering. The words hung laced with ice, a declaration etched in the stunned silence. The guests froze in shock at my outburst, faces paling under layers of makeup. Then the room erupted in chaos, shrieks overlapping, chairs scraping back, the orchestra faltering mid-note into discordant silence. "She is bleeding, call 120. Someone yelped, fumbling for a phone. "Lana's a psycho. She did that on purpose, vicious little monster." Another spat, voices rising in a cacophony of judgment. As the scene descended into pandemonium, heels clicking in frantic retreat and the metallic scent of fear mingling with spilled wine, I sauntered upstairs, crop in hand, cool as ice. Each step measured, my heart a steady flame amid the storm. Fiona glared at me from the landing with pure venom. Her eyes narrowed to slits, the rhinestones on her gown suddenly garish under the chandelier's glare. "You volunteered for the marriage abroad. I am the one stuck caring for Dad in your place, playing the dutiful daughter. How dare you ruin my birthday like some jealous hag?" I pinched her cheek with a scoff, my nails digging just enough to draw a gasp, her skin soft and yielding under my grip. "Volunteered?" The word dripped sarcasm, bitter as bile. "You, the bastard daughter of a homewrecker, only good for cheap tricks and crocodile tears. You think the mafia's a dumpster, taking any trash you throw their way. They'll take any trash. If they don't like the goods by then, it is returned, shipped back like yesterday's refuse, and you'll be left with nothing but your delusions. As for caring..." I tightened my grip, watching her face drain white from the pain, a satisfying bloom of red marking where my fingers pressed. I nodded inwardly, satisfied with my recent fitness gains, the strength coiling in my arms like a serpent ready to strike. "It is Dad you are nursing, or his money you're after. You know damn well which one lines your pockets. Don't play the saint in front of me. It is disgusting, like lipstick on a snake." Her face flushed crimson with rage, veins pulsing at her temples. But she didn't dare scream and cause a full scene, not with the guests still buzzing below like disturbed wasps. Soon enough, though, Fiona came shrieking from her room, Famey Fay old room, the betrayal a fresh stab, trailed by a few slender coral snakes slithering across the carpet, their scales glinting like jeweled daggers in the lamplight. "I know you are pissed. I used your room, sis," she gasped, clutching her throat dramatically. "But you could have just told me straight. Why scare me like this, unleashing these monsters? I can't breathe. My asthma's flaring. It hurts so much." She collapsed to her knees, face purpling in feigned distress, chest heaving with exaggerated gasps, the snakes coiling innocently nearby as props in her theater. "Little Fiona," Sebastian's voice cracked like a whip as he dove to shield her, his body a barrier of tense muscle, glaring up at me with seething fury, his eyes storm dark with accusation. Lana, have you lost your mind entirely? Don't you know startling and asthmatic can kill? Send her into anaphylactic shock, gasping her last in terror? You really think I did this? I shot back, voice level but edged with incredulity, the absurdity twisting in my gut. Sebastian ground his teeth, jaw clenched like granite. Who else could it be? Little Fiona's always been soft and kind. Hearted, can't even hurt an ant without tears, you, Miss Jiang. Fearless rider, rock climber, adrenaline junkie. You'd do anything wild, anything to lash out. I am baffled myself, I retorted, heat rising. If something happens to her, who is going to take your place in the alliance? Or is that the point, sabotage from the inside? Fuming, the betrayal a hot coal in my chest, I snatched up a snake, its body cool and sinuous in my grip, and flung it at Fiona's face, watching it arc through the air like judgment. Ah, she shrieked. Pupils dilating in raw terror, body recoiling as if burned. Her fake asthma attack forgotten in the primal surge of fear, color flooding back to her cheeks. Let's see if Sebastian still defended her once he saw through the act, the mask of frailty cracking under the weight of truth. But no such luck, the disappointment a fresh wound. Just as the snake neared 2 centimeters from her face, its fangs bared in harmless threat, Sebastian clamped my wrist like a vice, bones grinding under his grip, his eyes brimming with utter disappointment, raw and wounding as a blade to the ribs. Still denying it, Lana? How can you be so vicious and selfish, twisting everything to your grudge? His voice broke, laced with a sorrow that cut deeper than anger. Just like in my past life, the memories a bitter echo, cycles of pain repeating like a curse. Whenever Fiona was involved, we'd clash without mercy, words flying like daggers, fighting to the bitter end in a tangle of love and loathing that left us both bleeding. Yet neither of us would divorce and let go, chained by habit and the ghost of what could have been, too stubborn to sever the knot. Enough. The roar shattered the tension like glass underfoot. That is when Gordon burst in, face thunderous, veins bulging in his neck, unleashing a tirade at me that sprayed spittle and old grievances. I've been too soft on you all these years, pampering your whims, and look what it has wrought, letting you turn on your own sister like a killer, unprovoked and feral. You are no daughter of mine, you heartless monster. A stain on this family. Get out. Now. Pack your venom and slither away before you poison us all. I turned with a cold laugh, the sound hollow in my throat echoing off the walls like a final farewell. You guys don't have to fight over me, scold sis if it makes you feel better. Fiona sniffled through crocodile tears, her voice a fragile thread, but Sebastian silently handed her to Gordon, his touch gentle, as if she were spun glass. Then he followed me out in heavy silence, footsteps syncing with mine down the grand staircase, the air between us thick with unspoken fractures. I'll drive you, he said finally, keys jingling like chains in his pocket. He took me to Lushan Villa, the secret haven Mom left me. A secluded estate nestled in mist, shrouded hills, where pine-scented breezes whispered through bamboo groves and the lake mirrored forgotten stars. From childhood, whenever I was down, Sebastian would hole up there with me for days, sharing silences by the water's edge, his presence a balm against the world's sharp edges. Before leaving, he looked at me with tangled eyes, shadows playing across his features in the fading light, a storm of regret brewing unspoken. Want me to stay the night? We could talk, sort this mess. His voice was low, tentative, fingers twitching as if to reach for me. Back turned, my voice iced over, each word a deliberate cut. Number and don't come back, ever. This place is mine now, free of your shadows. The man's breathing hitched, turning ragged, a choked sound that clawed at my resolve. As the door clicked shut behind him, solid oak sealing the divide, I caught a faint sorry drifting in the air, carried on the wind like a leaf in autumn. Too late, too faint to hold. I had no plans to return to that toxic Jiang house, its walls steeped in deceit and decay, but I still needed Mom's relics, the last tangible thread to her memory. I hired movers to escort me back for my things. Burly men in crisp uniforms, their presence a silent deterrent against theatrics. What I walked into was Fiona in the living room, giggling as she grabbed a brush and smeared chaos over the pages. Her laughter tinkling like breaking glass, paint dripping from bristles like fresh wounds. Mom's portraits for me, now ruined. Faces unrecognizable under the stains, colors bleeding into abstract horrors, the love in each line drowned in her petty vengeance. Put it down. My roar tore from my throat, raw and primal, shaking the very air. She jolted, eyes widening in mock surprise. Then, with deliberate slowness, she toppled toward the easel, body twisting in a parody of accident. With a crash, the last of Mom's legacy shattered, wood splintering like bones, canvases crumpling under the weight of betrayal. She scrambled up, slapping her own face in mock remorse, sharp smacks echoing hollowly, her knee accidentally grinding into the one intact piece of the frame, splintering it further with a sickening crunch. Sorry, sis. I was just upset, drowning in all this family drama, so I had Sebastian. Bro, get these to cheer me up. Thought it'd be fun, you know. Don't be mad. I'll replace them. Exact same set, down to the last stroke. Rage boiling, a volcano in my veins. I snatched a fruit knife from the tea table, its blade catching the light like a promise, itching to carve her alive, to etch my fury into her smug skin. Sebastian threw himself in front, blocking her with desperate fervor, arms outstretched. Just some worthless paintings, Lana. Relics of the past. I'll get you identical ones, better even. Let me fix this. I stared him down, vision blurring at the edges with hot tears I refused to shed. Do you even know? These were the last things my mother left me. Her final breaths poured into lines and shadows. I know. His breath faltered, voice dropping low, laced with a guilt that rang false. But you ruined little Fiona's life, shattered her dreams with your schemes. What is a few paintings compared to that? A drop in the ocean of your cruelty. My voice trembled as I swung the knife at him, the motion fluid with pent-up fury, air whistling past the edge. Who the hell are you to touch my things without permission? To desecrate what is mine? He dodged too slow, the blade nicked his hand, dark blood dripping to the floor in slow, accusing patters, staining the rug like ink on parchment. No, it is my fault. Don't take it out on Sebastian, bro. Fiona screamed, lunging to shield him, her body a frantic barrier, eyes wide with theatrical fear. I aimed the knife straight at her face, the point hovering inches from her flawless skin, her breath hitching in terror. Stop, Sebastian bellowed, voice cracking like thunder. I didn't. The world narrowing to that singular point of reckoning. He yanked Fiona behind him, then shoved me hard, his palm connecting with my shoulder like a battering ram. I said stop, now. A grown man's strength is no joke, raw power honed by years of restraint now unleashed. His push slammed me into the wall, sticky blood welled from my forehead, warm rivulets tracing down my temple, the coppery taste blooming on my tongue as dizziness swirled. He whirled back, face paling in horror, releasing Fiona to cradle me against his chest, his hands gentle now, trembling as they pressed a handkerchief to the wound. Every time, you always do this, pushing until you break. Gotta wreck yourself just to make me suffer, huh? To force my hand, drag me into your chaos? His words tumbled out, rough with emotion. The words hung in the air, heavy as lead, and even he looked stunned, realization dawning like a slap, his own slip betraying deeper truths. Every time, Lana had always been proud and unyielding, a fortress of will when had she ever hurt herself, ever courted her own ruin, dazed and fading, the world tilting on its axis. I was rushed to the hospital, sterile lights blurring overhead, the beep of monitors a mechanical lullaby. Sebastian guarded me for 3 days, his vigil a shadow at my bedside, coffee cups piling like unanswered prayers. When I woke, groggy with painkillers, he was peeling an apple with surgical precision, the knife whispering against the skin, his tone heavy with unspoken weight, eyes shadowed by exhaustion. I'll marry you, he said, the words landing like stones in still water. That old vow, the one we sealed under the willow tree, pinky promises and all. I never forgot it, not for a second. I said nothing, throat tight, the room's antiseptic chill seeping into my bones. He offered the apple, slices fanned neatly on a plate, juice glistening. I swore to protect you forever. And it is forever, Lana, through storms and silences. But little Fiona, stop tormenting her. She is fragile, caught in the crossfire. For me, for us, let it go. I turned away, hiding my damp eyes in the sheets, the fabric rough against my lashes. A sob swallowed silent. Sebastian watched my back for ages, the silence stretching taut, before setting the apple on the bedside table with a soft clink and leaving. His footsteps fading down the hall like retreating echoes. I knew he was rushing back to Fiona, to her wide-eyed pleas and soft manipulations, the pull of her orbit stronger than our frayed thread. That afternoon, I checked myself out against protests, the discharge papers crinkling in my fist, donned a hat and mask to shroud my bruised face, and slipped alone to the airport. The terminal's hum, a distant roar, travelers blurring into anonymity. To my shock, as the boarding call echoed, Sebastian chased me down, weaving through the crowd like a man possessed, face etched with guilt, sweat beading on his brow. I failed to protect you. Again, he panted, voice raw. Call me anytime. Anything happens, day or night, and I'll be there. Promise. I glanced at him, surprised, the mask muffling my sharp intake. Had some spark lingered. He pressed a card into my hand, his fingers lingering a beat too long, warm against the chill plastic. Consider it an apology from your sister. She has got a temper, fiery like you, but bear with her. Family, right? Had he mistaken me for Fiona? The words twisted like a knife, his confusion a final insult. How laughable, the irony bitter on my tongue. I slapped his hand away, the card fluttering to the floor like a discarded vow. It is not too late to regret this, to see the web you've woven, Sebastian pursued, voice urgent over the announcements. I can get you a new identity, fake papers, clean slate. Hide abroad for a couple years. Regroup. We can fix this, Lana. I shoved him off, his chest yielding under my palms, grabbing my bag and striding away without a backward glance, the gate swallowing me whole. Behind me, Sebastian's reluctant murmur floated, soft as a prayer. Little Fiona, safe travels. Come back to me soon. Only as that slender figure vanished without turning, swallowed by the crowd, did Sebastian clutch his chest, face twisting in agony, a vice tightening around his ribs. For some reason, it felt like a whip had lashed his heart, a bone, deep ache radiating through every fiber, stealing his breath. He chalked it up to guilt, the weight of failures piling like stones, promises broken, lines crossed. He'd promised Fiona he'd keep her safe, shield her from the world's cruelties, yet failed to stop her Italian alliance marriage, the gilded cage closing around her. But what could he do, torn between loyalties? Lana was the one he'd chosen since childhood. His destined love, the girl who'd stolen his heart with a defiant smile. His future wife in every dream he'd spun. That would never change, no matter what tempests raged. Sebastian watched the chapel doors swing open with a creak that echoed like fate's decree. As Gordon beamed, his arm linked with Fiona's, escorting her down the aisle in a haze of veil and lace. The bride, dolled up to perfection, pearls at her throat, roses in her bouquet. Fiona. How could it be Fiona, her smile radiant under the stained glass, light fracturing into rainbows on her gown? Who was the one who left that morning, vanishing into the ether with quiet resolve? He refused to face it, denial a fragile shield, but logic struck mercilessly, cold and unyielding as a blade. The one who left was Lana. They'd swapped places, a masterful sleight of hand. Fiona stepping into the role like a thief in the night, memory erased. May we never meet again in this life. Asterisk, the thought whispered, a vow carved in absence. Sebastian. Bro, I am finally marrying you, Fiona cooed as they approached, her voice a silken thread, eyes gleaming with possessive greed, triumph veiled in bridal glow. Before the picture, perfect pair, chimeras flashing, guests murmuring approval, Gordon nodded with paternal pride, placing Fiona's hand in Sebastian's, the transfer heavy with finality. My most cherished daughter, the jewel of our line. Take good care of little Fiona from now on. Cherish her as she deserves. Sebastian snapped to, recoiling as if burned, tossing the bouquet to the floor where petals scattered like confetti of deceit. This is wrong. All wrong. I am supposed to marry Lana. She is the one, the only one. His voice boomed, shattering the sacred hush. The chapel fell deathly silent. Breaths held, the organ's swell dying into echo. Sebastian. Gordon's face darkened like a storm cloud roiling thunder in his veins. Marrying the Zhang heiress. Is that such a burden to you? The betrothal between our families, sealed in ink and ambition. Never specified Fei fate's choice. Not yours to dictate. The betrothal didn't say you'd marry a bastard into the white family either. A voice cut through, sharp as shattered vows. A board representative seized the moment, rising from the pews like an avenger, spilling Gordon's long, buried secrets in a torrent of righteous fury, words cascading like dominoes. Fiona and her whore mom drove Mrs. Poole to her grave, whispers and lies grinding her spirit to dust. Gordon chased off the eldest daughter for the alliance. Fine, sacrifices must be made, but stealing her betrothal for the bastard, that is cold, blooded, a father's betrayal etched in greed. Remember, Gordon, the company was Mrs. Poole's creation, built brick by blood and brilliance. With the eldest gone abroad bearing the weight alone, the board rejects this bastard as heir. Unanimously, irrevocably. Shut your mouth, all of you, lies vicious fabrications. Gordon flushed purple, eyes flickering with guilt, sweat beading on his brow like dew on the executioner's blade. Little Fiona's my legitimate daughter, Lana's full sister, blood of our blood. Spare me the theater, the representative sneered. Lana's the true heiress, forged in fire. Don't drag your shady spawn into her shadow, tainting her light. Chase rose with an icy sneer, his presence commanding, voice a blade honed by years of watchful rage. All these years using my sister's relics to silence Lana about Fiona's origins, dangling her grief like a chain, forcing her to Italy like a pawn. You think the Poole family's got no one left? No champions for the wronged? Gordon, as long as I am breathing, drawing air into these lungs, that bastard won't carry my sister's name. Won't sully her legacy with your sins. Meanwhile, his assistant rushed up the aisle, phone in hand like a ticking bomb, frantic, face slick with panic. Mr. Zhang, bad news, sir. The web's exploding with stories of you killing your wife in cold betrayal and exiling your daughter to the wolves. All our projects, partners are pulling out, contracts shredding like paper in a gale. And Mrs. Poole's shares. Miss Lana sold them to Mr. Poole overnight. The company's in freefall, stocks plummeting, boardrooms erupting. What? That rebellious bitch Lana did this, unleashing hell from afar. I knew she wouldn't just slink off quietly, tail between her legs. Gordon trembled with fury, fists clenching white, knuckled, then blanched. Clutching his chest as pain lanced through him like lightning, collapsing to the altar steps in a heap. Dad. Fiona's scream pierced the air, shrill and shattering, hands flying to her mouth as chaos swirled. Sebastian stood frozen amid the uproar, his mind reeling with overlooked details, fragments assembling like a mosaic of regret. Why had Lana whipped Fiona on sight all those years ago? The lash falling with unerring precision? Why did she always defy Gordon? Her barbs laced with a pain he now recognized as grief. And that argument, why say she'd rushed it? Her voice cracking with foresight. Lana had long decided on the alliance, embracing the shadows with eyes wide open, laying a masterstroke against Gordon in advance. A chessboard rigged for checkmate. And him the fool in the wings. She'd just discarded him like yesterday's news, a footnote in her triumphant exodus, ripping the groom's flower from his chest with a savage tear, petals wilting in his fist. Sebastian bolted from the hall on long strides, the doors banging open to the indifferent world beyond. Sebastian, bro, even you abandoning me, after everything. Fiona wailed through tears, voice breaking on sobs that echoed hollowly. But this time, the man who'd once doted endlessly, blind to her webs, didn't look back, shoving through the doors and vanishing into the storm. Swept night, heart pounding with the thunder of awakening. In Italy, the ancient castle's stone walls whispered of centuries past, vines creeping like secrets up the turrets, the air perfumed with olive groves and distant sea salt. I mulled how to handle Andre, pacing the opulent chamber with its tapestries of faded hunts. Mind a whirlwind of strategy and wariness. How to ensure my safety while clarifying. In terms as blunt as a blade, I sold my skills. My mind, my aim, not my body, a commodity I'd guard fiercer than gold. At most, a wife's title on paper, no wifely duties, no surrender to the unknown. Weirdly, after 3 or 4 days here, immersed in the castle's labyrinthine halls where echoes danced like ghosts, I hadn't seen him once. His absence a puzzle wrapped in luxury. The butler and staff just pampered me rotten, feeding me like a queen at banquets of truffles and aged wines. Their deference a velvet glove over iron loyalty. I mentioned loving riding in an offhand remark over espresso. They built a track overnight near the castle. Earth churned under floodlights, stocking it with priceless horses, sleek Arabians with coats like burnished silk. For my pick, their manes tossing in the dawn breeze. I admired a jewelry piece in a magazine, fingers tracing the page. By afternoon, the butler presented a full $1 million set of gemstone diamonds on a velvet tray, facets winking like conspirators. They even hired a Chinese chef from some hidden enclave, varying the menu daily with steaming dumplings and spicy Sichuan noodles, lest I miss home flavors. The tang of soy and ginger a bridge across oceans. But on seeing Andre, they dodged with polished excuses, eyes sliding away, claiming he was swamped with family matters and hadn't returned. Their smiles too tight. A full week in, I poked my waist flab in the mirror's unforgiving gaze, softened by indulgence, a stranger's curve, and knew I couldn't keep indulging, the decadence a gilded trap. So, I spiked a thermometer with a harmless agent from my concealed kit, the mercury climbing like a fevered lie, faking a raging fever and collapse. Body limp on silk sheets, skin hot to the touch. Sure enough, the castle shook to its foundations. Alarms subtle but urgent. Servants fluttering like startled birds. The butler summoned a medical team and equipment overnight. Scans whirring, IVs dripping, faces etched with grave concern. But I languished unconscious, breaths shallow and measured. They huddled for hours in the antechamber, helpless murmurs filtering through, charts rustling like dry leaves. Finally, as I neared my limit, sweat beading under the pretense, steady footsteps approached outside, heavy, deliberate, echoing off stone like a king's decree. I heard the butler murmur Master Low, voice deferential as he briefed on my condition. Vitals, erratic. Prognosis dire. The words a hook to reel him in. The door creaked open on oiled hinges. I cracked my lids, holding breath to glimpse the legendary mafia heir's true face, heart hammering against ribs. He leaned close to check me, perfect timing, his shadow falling cool across my skin. Lifting my eyes fractionally, I met twin emerald depths, clear as gems reflecting my own image, wide with unspoken storms. You are awake? The boy before me jolted back a fraction, hand freezing midair, blurting perfect Mandarin, the tones rolling smooth as river stones. I studied him, cataloging in the haze, porcelain skin flushed with concern, tousled brown curls falling boyish over his brow, round green eyes fringed with long lashes that cast shadows like secrets. This was my stranger husband, the enigma I'd bartered my future for. A pretty boy who looked at most 17 or 18, delicate features like he'd stepped from an oil painting, all soft edges and hidden fire. Who are you? It slipped out, unguarded, my voice a rasp. I couldn't square this harmless lamb, with his tentative grace, with the ruthless mafia lord tales, whispers of blood and iron fists. The boy blinked his emerald eyes, fidgeting nervously with the cuff of his sleeve before answering, honestly. Voice soft, but steady. Andre, that is me. My eyes widened in disbelief, the room spinning anew. The butler stepped up silently, bowing low with practiced elegance. Indeed, madam. This is Mr. Andre, your lord and husband. Andre, I echoed softly. The name foreign on my tongue, struggling to accept my groom seemed Italy's boy wonder, a youthful phantom, not some 50-year. Old specter shrouded in myth. Since you are in the castle, shadows and all, why hide a whole week? Dislike your alliance bride, sight unseen, or just toying with me, testing the waters before the plunge. From the week's treatment, lavish and without malice, A cocoon of care. I went blunt, propping up on elbows, the sheets pooling like waves. Number. Don't be mad, please. Andre waved frantically, those gem eyes misting like a pitiful critter caught in rain, lashes clumping. I was scared you'd be let down. By the rumors, the reality. I am. Not ready. Not polished enough for this. I propped on the pillows fully now, eyeing him up and down, from tousled hair to polished shoes, from those eerily familiar greens, haunting like a dream half remembered, and his handsome, anxious face, pieces clicked into place with a jolt. We've met before, somewhere. Impossible. Andre lit up, nodding eagerly, a smile breaking like dawn. You remember, in Suzhou's humble administrator's garden, the willows weeping, the ponds like mirrors. A buried memory fragment surfaced, vivid as yesterday. Humble administrators, the humid air thick with lotus. A chubby kid tumbling into the water with a splash, flailing, me pulling him up, sopping and sputtering, and those striking green eyes, wide with gratitude amid the ripples. I gasped, sitting bolt upright. You are that little fatty from back then, the one who nearly drowned in the koi pond. He flushed crimson, rubbing his neck, curls bouncing. I've slimmed down now. Diets, trainers, the works. But yeah, that was me. We stared, a faint awkwardness settling like dust motes in sunlight, the past bridging the chasm. The butler interjected smoothly. Young master studied Chinese after returning from Suzhou. Whores with tutors, flashcards by lamplight. The alliance is doing entirely, through every scheme, every negotiation. Not just anyone would do, it had to be you. Every scheme. I twitched a lip in wry amusement, recalling the Andre family's coercion and bribes to make Gordon agree. Threats veiled in silk. Fortunes dangled like bait. Fine, that counted as effort, a boy's determination wrapped in empire's might. But isn't the Andre heir supposed to be over 50? A ghost who never shows his face. Whispers of a tyrant in twilight. Andre strode forward, confidence flickering, his forelock bouncing like a spring uncoiling. No way, I am 20, fresh as spring. Rumors they protect, exaggerate. He scratched his neck sheepishly. I stay hidden for safety, dodging knives in the dark. And, well, looking like this isn't convenient. Too many eyes, too many assumptions. I eyed his stunning, innocent face. Cheekbones sharp as desire. Lips curved in vulnerability. And couldn't help laughing, eyes crinkling with genuine mirth, the sound bubbling free after days of tension. Fair point. A pretty mafia heir, all porcelain and emeralds. Word would kill with laughter, tales twisting into farce. Seeing me grin freely, unguarded joy lighting my features. Andre's eyes dazed a beat, transfixed. Then he smiled too, slow and radiant, mirroring my warmth. You look best like this, alive, unburdened, like the girl from the garden. Getting along with Andre was unexpectedly smooth, like slipping into a favorite gown, effortless, surprising in its fit. If not for the unverifiable mafia title, etched in contracts and crests, I'd swear he was some pampered, harmless college kid, debating philosophy over gelato, not commanding shadows, with a touch of comically stubborn devotion that tugged at forgotten corners of my heart. An apple I'd half, bitten left on the table, core exposed. He'd box it in velvet, sealing it with ribbon, claiming the curve from Madame's bite is artistic, a masterpiece in fruit. His eyes sparkling with earnest absurdity. Heirloom pigeon, blood rubies glowing like captured sunsets, Swiss bank passcodes, whispered like love letters, endless asset lists under his name, sprawling empires on parchment. All handed to me on silver platters, his palms upturned in trust. I felt it, deep in the hollows Mom's loss had carved. Andre striving to give me security, brick by brick, showing he meant it. Not with words, but with the weight of worlds offered freely. Since Mom's death, the world a gauntlet of cold shoulders and solitude. Alliances forged in survival alone. I'd grown armored against warmth. First time someone laid bare, warm sincerity in my lap like this. Raw, uncalculated. A hearth against the chill. Some moments amid the castle's golden hours, I thought. Hey, this prophet, born marriage, roots in strategy and survival. Not half bad, perhaps. In time, a bloom of something real. But trouble brewed, insidious as fog rolling in from the sea. Some old Guard Andre ministers, relics of a bloodier era with their silver canes and hawkish gazes, sensed he'd fallen for his alliance bride, me, the outsider with Eastern fire. They started haunting the castle study, leather, bound tomes, and maps of forgotten wars their backdrop. Voices murmuring dissent through oaken doors. After a riding session, thighs aching from the gallop, wind-kissed cheeks flushed, I caught a few silver-haired gentlemen storming out, faces ashen as parchment, mustaches twitching in fury. Spotting me in the corridor, their eyes flashed rejection and wariness, cold assessments like daggers sheathed but drawn. I know exactly what I am doing. Andre's voice sliced from the shadows, emerging like a specter. Lana's my wife. No one changes that, not edict nor ambition. Next time you overstep, face the consequences, swift and unforgiving. His tone brooked no argument, a velvet threat. Andre loomed behind them, his usual mild emeralds freezing to ice, shards of glacial command. The tyrant's aura pinned them white, faced barely breathing as they bowed out with stiff spines, retreating like whipped hounds. That is when it hit, bone deep. A man ruling the mafia, threads of power woven through continents, couldn't be some harmless flower, petals soft and fleeting. He just sheathed his thorns around me, guarding the fragile bloom of trust we'd planted. The storm seemed crushed under Andre's boot. Dissent scattered like leaves in gale. Days later, at a high society gala in a palazzo aglow with chandeliers and intrigue, he insisted I attend in full glamour. Gowns rustling, jewels clinking like secrets shared. For the first time, he dropped his mask, the porcelain facade cracking to reveal the steel beneath, clasping a century-old ruby necklace around my neck, its weight a collar of fire, stones pulsing against my pulse. Time they see clearly who is at my side, he murmured, breath ghosting my ear. Irrevocable, eternal. But shortly after arriving, amid the swirl of silk and cigar haze, laughter a brittle mask. Bang, a sharp crack split the air like divine wrath. The waiter beside Andre exploding in crimson gore, chest blooming red, body crumpling as arterial spray arced. Blood nearly splattered me, warm flecks on my sleeve, the metallic reek invading the perfumed air. The hall hushed, a collective inhale, then detonated in screams, shattering glass, overturned chairs, the orchestra fleeing mid-strain. "Sir!" Mafia guards roared in unison, surging to shield him like a living wall, guns drawn in lethal ballet. Andre's first move, yanking me behind him, arm a steel band around my waist, his body heat a anchor in the maelstrom. Those deep greens, darkened, swirling with savage murder, a predator unleashed. Second, floor hallway corner, marksman, elevated. His command barked low, precise. In that split second, instinct overrode thought, training flooding veins like ice water. I hiked my skirt, fabric tearing softly, drawing the cold steel from my thigh holster. Draw, raise, aim. The grip familiar as breath, weight balanced in palm, like 1,000 range drills. Bullets whispering past ears, targets blooming under fire, peering through Andre's shoulder gap, the world tunneling. I locked the blurry shadow in my sights, cloaked figure, rifle glinting. Bang! Recoil jarred my wrist numb, a thunderclap in my bones, powder smoke stinging eyes. Simultaneously, the figure jerked rigid, a marionette cut loose, slumping against the railing before tumbling dead to the floor below. Body thudding like final punctuation, blood pooling dark. Silence crashed again, heavier than before, breaths ragged in the void. After confirming that lone assassin was down for good, pulse absent, eyes glassy, all eyes riveted to the gun in my hand, smoke curling from the barrel like accusation. Especially those dissenting elders, now gawking from the fringes, disbelieving this scheming foreign bride, with her steady grip and unyielding stare, had saved their heir, turning the tide with a single shot. Chaos quelled fast under barked orders, guards swarming, medics tending the fallen. That night, Andre purged the traitors with iron fist, interrogations echoing through dungeons, alliances severed like throats, dismantling the rebel faction root and branch, screams fading into dawn. And in the ancient family council, vaulted ceilings arching like judgment. He clasped my hand, declaring publicly amid flickering torches, "From today, Lana, as my wife, holds equal power to mine, voice, and veto, unchallenged. Her name joins mine in the family codex, etched in stone and blood. Iron law, break it, and break yourselves." On the drive back, winding roads hugging cliffs under moonlit vines, Andre stayed mute, jaw set, knuckles white on the wheel. Only inside the castle, sealed from prying eyes and gunpowder's acrid ghost, did he crush me to him with arms like bands. Unyielding, his frame trembling faintly against mine, whispering at my ear, voice rough with vulnerability, "I hate this identity of mine for the first time, the crown of thorns it forces on you. Lana, I swear on my life, on every shadowed corner of this empire, never again will you face danger. Not while breath fills me." I caught his bluebell scent, fresh and wild, mingling with cordite's fade, heard his frantic heartbeat, a war drum against my cheek. Betraying the air's rare panic, the boy beneath the throne laid bare. With a soft laugh, light as relief, I leaned in, fingers tracing his jaw. "You were helping me earn respect, weren't you? A stage set for the shot." Before I fired, the butler already winged the shooter's shoulder, didn't he? "Your web spun tight." Andre paused, emerald searching mine, then barked a short, delighted laugh, tension shattering like ice. His emerald gaze misted, laced with intimate heat brushing my nose, air thickening with unspoken promises. He dipped low, sealing my lips with a kiss. Gentle at first, then deepening like a vow, murmuring like a sigh against my skin. "Ti amo." Italian lilting and ancient, but I knew, the words blooming warm in my chest. "I love you." I hadn't tracked home news deliberately, burying the pull under new horizons. But scraps slipped through from loyal friends, whispers over encrypted lines, voices laced with vindication. Fiona hadn't snagged the white marriage after all, her crown slipping in the scandal's glare. Her bastard status outed like a thunderclap. The whites cut ties with the Jongs in a blaze of public scorn. Sebastian publicly swore he'd never wed her, his statement a blade to her ambitions. My pre-departure gambit? Devastating. A poison pill swallowed whole, leaks timed like clockwork, documents unearthed like graves. Gordon was now the poster boy for sleazy upstarts, tabloids feasting on his fall. Boycotts tanked Jong products, shelves emptying as consumers spat on the tainted brand. Uncle Chase swooped in like a hawk, snapping up shares in the chaos. Plus the stake I'd sold him, a Trojan horse in equity's guise. Jong Corp's real control, back in pool hands, wrested from Gordon's grasp, the boardrooms echoing with his impotent rage. Full circle, his prized empire, built on stolen foundations, bore the pool name at last, a phoenix from his ashes. Desperate. Gordon even called me once, voice slurred with pills and pleas, begging across the line. I'd preempted, swapping all contacts with surgical precision, done with the Jiang scum for good, their echoes silenced in my new silence. I never dreamed I'd see Sebastian again. His ghost banished to memory's fog. I was pruning roses in the garden below, thorns pricking gloves like old wounds, petals unfurling in terracotta hues under the Mediterranean sun, when he appeared soundlessly behind, footsteps muffled on gravel, voice laced with complication, roughened by months of torment. "Looks like you are doing well, thriving even." The words hung tentative, edged with envy. I sank into the white wicker chair, vines twisting like lovers overhead, sipping the flower tea, Andre sourced from home. Jasmine and osmanthus, a sip of nostalgia in porcelain. As you see, very happy, roots deep, branches free. He stepped closer, gravel crunching, urgent now, shadows under his eyes like bruises. Fiona didn't marry into the whites. Doors slammed shut. Since you left, our families imploded, alliances crumbling like sandcastles. So, what has that got to do with me? I arched a brow, steam curling from the cup like disinterest. He inhaled deep, steeling himself, chest rising like a bellows. "Lana, lately, I've been having these weird dreams, vivid, haunting, like echoes of another life." His eyes pinned mine, churning with nostalgia and ache, raw as open veins. Dreams where you didn't go abroad for the alliance. Instead, we married under those willows, vows exchanged in sunlight. But we were miserable, shadows between us. I thought Fiona was your full sister, that you'd schemed her death in Italy. So I resented you, cold words and colder beds, refused to make it work, let grudges fester. But truth is, Fiona lied huge web of deceit. No asthma, not your sister. Just a bastard. Venom in silk. She didn't die. She bolted from the wedding, fleeing her own trap. Sebastian. I cut him off, impatient, the shears clattering to the table, voice sharp as thorns. You think some random dream whitewashes you, erases the stains? Who shielded Fiona every time, blind to her fangs? Who broke our vow, shattered porcelain promises? Who pushed me into that alliance, hands on my back? I did as you wanted, sacrificed, survived. Now you say this. Pointless drivel, salt and healed scars. Because I need you to know, I loved you from start to finish, the only constant. Sebastian desperate now, voice cracking, hands fisting at sides. Fiona was just a sister to me, a misstep in the fog. You are my fated wife, the beat to my heart. Give me another shot, I swear, this time I'll cherish, protect. Number, I met his eyes dead. On, no mercy, steel in my gaze. Your love's too late, too cheap, tarnished coin after the vault's sealed. I passed on it before leaving, ashes of trust. Now, it disgusts me, a beggar's plea. Sebastian reeled, face crumpling in raw torment, color draining as if bled dry, staggering back a step. Sis. Then Andre emerged from the archway, princeling, fine in linen and quiet power, draping a shawl over me with feather. Light touch, cashmere soft as his gaze. His emerald skimmed Sebastian lightly, assessing cool as distant seas, hand possessive on my belly, palm warm through silk. Winds picking up from the hills, don't stay out long. Dr. Green says it is bad for the little one, all that chill seeping in, baby. Sebastian thunderstruck, the word a bolt, eyes drowning in despair and shatter, world fracturing anew. Family means more than life to me, blood bond, unbreakable. I'd only bear children for the one I love, a gift wrapped in certainty. That is my sacred vow to marriage, and my partner, etched in soul fire. He, and I remembered it clear. The words I'd spoken young under star, pricked skies, meaning every syllable, placing him in my heart's vault then. But years together crumbled to misunderstandings. His arrogance a wall, cowardice a chain. We'd lost our way, paths diverging in the dark. Sebastian's mouth worked soundlessly, voice quavering with plea, fragile as autumn leaf. You truly won't turn back, not even a whisper of what we had. I lifted my chin, clear and calm, the garden's breeze stirring petals like farewells. Go, no more crossings, bridges burned, horizons new, love or hate. He was excised from my life, a chapter closed with deliberate finality. Once he left, gravel fading under retreating steps. I turned, pinching Andre's porcelain cheek gently, peering into those sly emeralds, mischief dancing amid the green. Naughty boy. You let him in on purpose, didn't you? Slipped the guards a wink, and faking a baby, such a sly ploy. A mafia castle letting Sebastian waltz in unchallenged, laughable. A stage for our drama. He knelt gracefully, nuzzling my palm, lashes tickling like butterfly wings. Well, I had to protect Sis from being fooled, didn't I? That guy's no good. Shadows and regrets trailing him like smoke. Truth was, I knew. The certainty a warm glow. Andre had long known about Sebastian, pieced from letters and sighs, respected my space with quiet grace, never meddled in the ghosts I wrestled. But he feared my heart held another, a thorn in his bloom, so he'd lured the rival in Fei staked claim, a boy's gambit wrapped in man's resolve. From day one in Italy, sun-drenched and vine-wrapped, he'd chased giving me security, gifts, glances, a fortress of care. Yet he was the insecure one, emeralds hiding tempests, cupping his face, thumbs tracing high cheekbones. I kissed his lips soft, lingering, a seal on truths. Don't worry, I gazed into those greens, depths pulling like tides. Andre, it is you I love now, certain, unwavering. The emerald stilled, breath held in fragile hope, then surged like a stone in a pond, wild joy and adoration rippling out, brighter than ever, stars igniting in verdant seas. Really, his voice soared boyish, cracking with delight, hands clasping mine. Before I could reply, he scooped me bridle. Style, effortless strength belying his frame, charging inside with glee, laughter echoing off stone. Then we make a baby, now, right away. No more waiting, no shadows between. The sudden lift in his childish vow, pure and unfiltered, drew my laugh. Free, cascading like bells. Glancing up at sunlight, warm skies filtering through arches and the pure love in his eyes. Boundless as horizons. I looped my arms round his neck, smiling heart full. All right, let's build our forever.